Hey gang, this is Mike with my real estate dojo, and I got a question from one of my friends on Facebook about real estate investing, and I'm gonna go ahead and play his video. Before I play his video, if you have a video, you have a question, I'm willing to answer it for free if you do a video with your question. Keep it short so I can answer it for you. So let's show this question. Here we go.
Hey Mike, this is Derek. I got a quick question for you. What would you do when a seller refuses to sell the property after you have it under contract? I had this happen recently, and I'd already signed my contract to a new buyer for a $25,000 fee. So I had my attorney send them a letter, and I'd already filed a memorandum for them to sell the property. So I've clouded the title, but I didn't know if there was maybe something I can do to move this forward. Any suggestions?
All right, guys, that was a very, very good question, and it came from Derek. Again, if you guys have a question, just go ahead and make a video, and I'm willing to answer it for you for free because you guys see my ugly mug every day, and I want to see your pretty face, okay, or your handsome face, whatever it is. So going to Derek's question, his question was that he got a deal on the contract, he filed a memorandum, and if you don't know what a memorandum is, it's basically a paperwork that clouds the title, that protects your interest in case the seller decides not to sell the property. And then he assigned that contract to another end investor, made $25,000 from that assignment fee. But now that end investor is trying to close on the deal, but the seller wants to get out of the situation, and he doesn't want to fulfill his promise or fulfill his agreement or the contract. So his question is, what can I do? And he said that he's already gone and talked to an attorney that drew up that memoranda form, and they send a letter to him. All right, so how would I handle this situation? First of all, let me take my hat off to you, Derek, for going out there and hustling and bustling and getting the deal. You have to go through these pains and sufferings to learn. The very first thing is that I'm not an attorney, okay? I'm just explaining to you things that I've seen in my business, and hopefully it'll clear up the mud for you. So the very first thing is that they say in real estate that, or anything, attorneys kill deals. So you have to understand that. Let me give you a good example. Well, before I do that, just know that attorneys kill deals, okay? Point number two is that the problem, I think, is, and I might be wrong, and I'm more wrong than right, that you didn't bond with the seller. You didn't build enough credibility. You didn't build enough report. And it looks like you made a steal and the seller didn't make anything. And so you have to create win-win situations, which is one point of that. You have to, build rapport with the seller and really build trust with them and be honest with them. So those are the very foundation, okay? If you don't have that and you have a deal in the contract and then you turn around and some other investor sweeps in and they get it, there's things you can do to protect yourself, like the memorandum. The great thing with the memorandum is clouds out the title, but it's not going to be immediate gratification. You would have to wait for that seller to be able to sell their property down the line, or whenever they decide to, and then the title company will contact you, especially if you're using my memorandums the way I say it. And also with my memorandums, I also have a liquidity damages in there that says, like, if the seller decides to back out, I'm willing to let go of this if they pay me whatever my assignment fee was at that time, $3 grand, 10 grand. So that all comes back to the being honest and truthful with the seller, and not having, like, I tell the seller, if I'm going to wholesale, I make 10 grand. I'm putting it on my addendum. I'm going to make 10 grand, and if you decide to back out, you got to pay for that. Because it's going to, I explained to them, it's going to mess up the title chain, and not going to be able to get title policy. So so see, the foundation is building trust, being honest, creating win-win situation. So it's, it seems like if you make 25,000, how much did the seller make? If the seller didn't make anything, then so in this business, there's a lot of buyer's remorse, there's a lot of seller's remorse, and there's people that teach you all these tricks and tactics of sales and closing, but it doesn't work in real estate because, as you just found out, Patrick, that it takes a long time when you get a sale to the closing date. And throughout that time, the seller or the buyer may have buyer's remorse, they may have other options. So, and if you're stealing the deal from them and you're not leaving them any meat on the table, and you haven't built a report, these are the type of things that not can happen, that do happen. Thank you, my friend. So, now let me give you a little example that in this business or any business, if you're in entrepreneurship, there's a difference between being right in court and going to court. Again, there's a big difference of being right and going to court. Just because you're right doesn't mean you're going to win in court, and it doesn't mean that justice is going to propel, because it's not like that. And I learned that the hard way. Let me give you an example. I had a moving company. We did a move for a customer. This was the beginning phase of my moving business. And the customer breached the contract, didn't want to pay for our services. We had rendered them. By law of Texas, we have the ability to put a lien on their home furniture, put it in storage, put it up for sale, run an ad. So I did everything what the law said. I hired an attorney. We put the ad up. We auctioned off their stuff. But unfortunately, she didn't have anything worth anything. So I had to trash it. Nobody wanted to buy it. So I had to pay the law fee. I had to pay the court. So so I did all this. Ended up losing money. I had to pay the storage fee, the moving, pay the movers, pay the gas, pay the attorney. The customer comes, sues me. A couple of months later, I hired the same attorney. I win. A couple of months later, I think about 6 months or 8 months later, she comes, sues me again with a different angle. One was like breach of contract. One was, deceptional trade act practices. One was like I didn't have the right to take, her homestead property, even though the Texas law says that we can take homestead property, especially if they're using moving. So it's just like chaos. And so what I learned is I went to court 3 times and I've won, but she kept coming suing me. And the reason she was able to do that is because she was like solvent, and she was able to find lawyers to work for free for her. And the last time she sued me, she had I think the 3rd or 4th largest law firm in Dallas working for free for her. And I took it to a different attorney, and it was a very old gentleman. He was right about to retire, and he told me, "Hey, Mike, I see, this has happened to you, and the best bet is just to pay her money, dude, because you're gonna pay me this money. We'll go to court again. She's gonna win. She's never gonna stop. They're gonna come with a different situation, and these are not, lawsuits that they won ever. I won every single one, but every time I had to go to court, I had to pay money. I had to spend stress. I had to pay, court fees. So there was all these things involved in it. So after spending a lot of money, a lot of going for the same lady, I learned in business that you can be right, but it doesn't mean it's worth fighting. Okay, so in a situation like this, if this was my situation, with the seller, first thing I would go do is, instead of paying the lawyer, I don't know how much you pay to have them to write a letter, $500, $600, $1,200, whatever it is. Why not offer that to the seller and see if you can squish that? Say, hey, if I give you that $1,200, can we get this deal going? Well, if he says no, then I will come back and say, well, out of that $25,000, what if I give you half of it? Dude, because making $12,000, making a little something is better than nothing. Because right now, what has happened for you is you took some other guy's money, and the seller's not closing, so he's mad at you. He wants to sue you. You're spending money trying to sue. So now you have 2 people mad at you. You have the seller that can sue you, and then you have the end investor that can sue you. And you made $25,000. That investor's out of money, shitload of money, and the seller is, you're sending them demand letters. So what's going to happen, do you think? You're not, it's hard to get, it's better to bring sweets. Like one attorney told me, it's better to get more bees with honey than vinegar. Okay, and I didn't understand that because I was new and I had money. I was like, oh no, but I learned that. Okay, so if that was me, the very first thing I would do was not to go run to an attorney. Well, what I would try to do is kind of work something out with the seller, give him some of my profits. Okay, but before I did any of that, at the very beginning, I would build credibility, build trust, build rapport, have the seller convince himself that he wants to sell to me instead of me persuading him, trying to sell him, trying to manipulate him basically to sell to me. I don't do it like that. I allow the seller to go up the climax, and then I allow them to jump off, or I allow them to say, you know what, I want to sell to Mike. Once they do that in their own mind, then other people that come in, they're like, no, I'm not interested. No, I'm not interested, because they made the decision. Where if you're sitting there and you're convincing the seller, and you got to $25,000 on an assignment, and good for you. You gotta still, but the seller has buyer's remorse, and now you're in a situation where it is, and that happens a lot, dude. That's why I don't try to sell people anything, especially in the real estate investing. I allow the seller to make the decision, just like I do with my mentoring students. Okay, I don't do. It's just not worth it. I don't want to deal with buyer's remorse because these things can happen. Now, the last note is, dude, if you guys are getting assignment fees from people outside of the title company or before the deed is conveyed, then you really don't need to be spending that customer's money, because you haven't performed 100%. You said that you're going to give them a contract, this person's going to close, that person decided not to close, so why should you keep that money? I don't think that's a very fair or ethical business practice, even though that you may have the paperwork that says non-refundable, but your paperwork or your agreement is the one that didn't perform, right? So I would just give the investor his money back if it was a situation like that, because I'm not here to do a one-hit wonder. I'm not here just to win one fast. I'm trying to get these cash investors to buy from me over and over. And sure, $25,000 sounds like a lot of money, but I'd rather have that customer and be able to sleep in that, not knowing that the seller's trying to sue me, this other investor's trying to fuck me over, and things of that nature, guys. Hopefully that answers your question. If you have any other questions, leave it below. If you like these videos, please like, please share. Go out there and hustle and bustle. Talk to you later.